Hello, it's Dr. Ariel Policano. Welcome to our weekly training for the Genius Insight. The Genius Insight is a biofeedback system that allows you to view many different things in the universe through universal consciousness, through the connection of frequency. You could be looking at something related to abundance. You could be looking at something related to clearing your home. You could be looking at something related to testing the quality of your food. So this isn't all about health. The Genius is a dynamic tool that can be used for lots of different things in your life. So we recently had an update, you guys. There is a new update this morning. Make sure you update your Genius. And I want to give you one more tip about that. I'm going to show you in just one moment. Let's get started on a case. We have a case sent in by Kathy, who wanted me to work on her daughter. So we keep all of the particular name information private, but you will see the picture for Corey. Corey is dealing with Lyme's, and she's quite young. Brain fog, joint pain, and major pains on the left side of her stomach. All right, well, let's see what's going on for Corey. Let's go ahead and let's get this picture taken and see what's going on. So you don't have to be a doctor to work on anyone with anything, because what you're doing is you're evaluating the places where there are different types of blockages. So you're looking for places where there are different types of blockages, and you want to release those blockages. So you don't need to have, you don't have to have a medical degree, because you're not doing anything medical. You're just working on the energetic being. Now, with that in mind, it is good to get some training in biofeedback and understand what you're doing from a biofeedback perspective on the Genius. And we have two practitioner trainings, practitioner training 1 and practitioner training 2. One is a basic and the other is an advanced level, and shows you how to be a practitioner and how to talk about biofeedback in a professional way. So let's look at the aura for Corey and see what's going on. Okay, so as we look at the aura, what you're looking for, you guys, there's no direct translation of the aura. There are general things in my mastery guide where I've talked about the different colors of the aura. And what you want to look for is both an intuitive hit about the aura and then just some general, you're looking for more general concepts in the aura rather than you're looking for like a specific point by point on the aura itself. So what you're looking at here is a lot of density. You see a lot of gray over here. You see a lot of gray down here. And when I read something like Lyme, major brain fog, fatigue, joint pain, I feel that there's emotional trauma here. So let's find out what's going on. Let's look at it objectively. So we do see a lot of physical stuff. I think I took that picture already, right? If not, there we go. Okay, so let's go back here. And so now what you do, the first thing is you want to look at the general readings. Like, what do you see when you look at the general readings? Is there any pattern here? We see something that's very typical in a younger person with a higher level of vital force. And so I think we're talking about, let's get a general age. We don't want to always give a specific age, but we want to give a general range of ages. So this is a woman in her early 30s that we're looking at. Okay, so somebody who's younger, and I'd say in their 30s is definitely on the younger end, is that they're going to have a strong vital force. So people who are younger have the ability to be more resilient. And we see that in these readings because we see a lot of green and we don't see a lot of blue in particular. Okay? We see some down here. We see minerals, which when somebody has a chronic illness, you can expect the minerals to be fairly depleted because levels of stress, high cortisol, or being in pain, or not being able to sleep, all of these things cause you often to lose minerals. And so minerals may also help with improving the immune system. But in general, when you first go in, a lot of people are, like, oh my gosh, what do I do when I first go in? Just look up and down at this pattern. And what does this pattern tell you? You see a lot of green and a lot of yellow. So even if there's something very deep going on, like a chronic illness, she has some level of resiliency here that she is able to deal with this. The other thing I wanted to just remind everyone is that on your Genius, this is the navigation bar here at the upper right of the screen. And then this is your menu bar where you have lots of different menus. At the end of every day, it's really best to go to Settings and then go to this, I don't know why it's called a Genie. You'll have to ask the developer, but it's called Genie Cloud Sync Database. So go here at the end of every day and just go ahead and sync your database. It'll make sure that everything on your device is saved. So that's a good practice to get into at the end of every day. So let's go ahead and test the minerals and see which minerals are not in balance. All right, so interesting, very, very interesting here. What I would say here is that there's more, so the general reading for anything in biofeedback is that red and blue represent reactivity. And this is where the person is experiencing a stress in relation to that particular whatever it is. So they have a stress, they have a disharmonious relationship with that particular item that's named. And the main solution in biofeedback is to run the frequency. So the really uncomplicated thing here, the only thing you need to do as a practitioner is to drop it into the tray and to hit the play button. That's all you really need to do as a practitioner. Now, if you want to take it deeper, you want to take it a level beyond that, then you can start to take my classes. In my classes, I teach about the principles of natural health. That has been what I've been studying for, a long time now. Definitely going on 2 decades of studying natural health. And that's what I really give to you, having gone through a 4-year medical college and continuing to study about natural health. I really combine the principles of natural health with energy medicine here for biofeedback purposes. And when I look at this, I think to myself, it would be much more likely that somebody is reacting to the fluoride in their water system, since a majority of water is still fluoridated in the United States, which is crazy. So there'd be much more of a chance that this would be a fluorine excess than a fluorine deficiency. But we really do no harm by bringing it into the tray, because what biofeedback doesn't seek to correct the excess or deficiency. Biofeedback just corrects the imbalance in the frequency. It helps to really heal the relationship, the imbalance in the relationship. And so what that could mean physically is that person ends up releasing any stored fluoride or releasing the effects of the fluoridation. Also, lithium coming up here. So lithium, this tells me this would be more of a lithium deficiency. And there could be some emotional issue in here where emotional state of being needs some additional support. And there is a good supplement called lithium orotate, which we take about 5 or 10 milligrams. It's good for everyone to take for cognitive or brain protection. Chlorine comes up at 635, while 600 is not indicated here in a red color. Anything that is above 600 should be considered to be significant or possibly significant to the case. You guys, to go back to the very beginning of biofeedback and what this all means is that everything that is in your genius is about a probability, a likelihood. So we are basing probabilities on patterns, the pattern of the voice, the pattern of the picture, the pattern of the date of birth, the pattern of the letters in the name. There is a very strong probability based on the algorithms that this is true. And we see it time and time again where things are spot on. But it's just like if you looked at yourself as an overall pattern, you know, what are the chances that you will do the things that you have been doing in that way? There's a very strong likelihood, right? Based on what we know about you. If you think about all of the things that are looked at online, based on what you're looking at online, they can figure out a lot about what you're likely to look at next online or what you might be interested in. In a lot of ways, the strict algorithms of biofeedback are about probability. Based on what you've done before and what your voice and picture show about you, what is it likely that you have this reactivity or imbalance to? So then we see molybdenum. Very, very difficult to say. It's only at 629, so it's probably less reactive than, say, fluorine. But molybdenum is often something that comes in when people have long-standing toxicity, as in heavy metals. And as a result of the heavy metals, they often have some type of other infection like candida. And a deficiency or using up all of your molybdenum seems to go hand in hand with that. When there are high levels of acetaldehyde as a result of candida, then the molybdenum gets used up very quickly. So this could tell us something about that there's possibly some type of chronic candida or fungal infection. Then we go down to the bottom, we start to look for blue. Blue is very similar to red. Red and blue are very much the same. They indicate a stickiness for that person, that there's something out of balance in that area or it's something that needs harmonizing. You know, I was talking with the co-developer of the Genius over the last couple of days. That's this gentleman, Garnett Dupuis. You may have heard his name before. And he was giving me such a wonderful understanding that the body is just a natural system. Just like in the forest, you've got nature's system, you've got a natural system, and there are all of these mechanisms in place to keep this system working. If you think about the forest doesn't just break down on its own. It's constantly moving into different, the moss breaking down a dead tree or new trees sprouting up, and there's a constant give and take. Overall, the forest doesn't need vaccinations. The forest doesn't need major amounts of supplementation. The forest doesn't need chemotherapy or radiation. It's an incredible natural system of being able to maintain itself. It's got a wonderful design. Your body is another example of a natural system, okay, which is able to maintain itself. In fact, if you just take a moment to tune into yourself, you'll feel the incredible presence within you, which is always taking you towards wellness. Every part of you, as that incredible system of nature, is like a wave constantly bringing you towards whatever it is that you need to keep you completely well. And a large part of what healing is about is eliminating that which blocks you from moving into or becoming one with this greater system of healing. So if you can get sort of a picture of that, it's just these very subtle movements that allow you to come into alignment with this incredible system within you that just has this enormous energy behind it that keeps you standing upright and that keeps you healthy the majority of the time. There's so many systems within you that are actually working well and that are constantly working on your behalf to keep you well. It's a natural system that unencumbered just keeps that wave flowing. So if you can just tune into that for a moment, you can feel that almost every cell in your body is working together with this incredible force for the vast majority, keep you well. And you can even focus in, think of all the systems right now within your own being that are working well. Your vision, your hearing, your heart, your muscles, everything that's just, whoa, there's like this incredible momentum, right, that is keeping you well. And so my point is that everything that we're doing in healing or just ultimately result in these subtle movements that are just pulling out the slight places where you're blocked. And once you make that subtle shift, it's like that system of nature, which overwhelmingly keeps you well, can move in to do the rest of the job. And so biofeedback is a system. And the reason it works so well is that it has the most subtle shifts to open up and allow you to maintain that wellness. That's what this is all about. That is why subtle medicine will ultimately win out as the most powerful healing medicine, because it works in alignment with your own system with these gentle little taps that eliminate those little blockages that prevent the entire system from rushing in and really keeping you well, as it does the majority of the time. And because it is subtle and because it works in alignment with your higher consciousness, it doesn't have unwanted or unforeseen side effects, as almost everything else does. Even a supplement that you take out of a bottle has this, or may have an unforeseen side effect. We know even in natural medicine that a big problem of what is happening today is that there are so many side effects to people taking high dose natural supplements. They may be manufactured synthetically, they may be manufactured in China. So there's so many problems, even when you're using something like a Rife machine. This is something that's not really maybe particularly aligned to your system. It doesn't have the same subtle influences as we're using in biofeedback. So really, biofeedback is about these subtle movements that just allow the entire natural system of your being to come back into as to make the changes that are necessary to keep you well. And there are a couple of ways that you can also think about this, and we're going to get back to this case in just a second, is have you ever read in an article about, wow, you read about coenzyme Q10 and you're so excited about what coenzyme Q10 does that it prompts you to order the bottle, and then you take the bottle maybe for 2 days and then you forget about it and you never take the supplement again. But boy, you felt really amazing when you read the article about coenzyme Q10. You felt so thrilled and elated about the potential of what coenzyme Q10 could do for you. So I submit to you, since placebo effect is still the only thing that we can rely on 100% to work 100% of the time, is the placebo effect. That's been in all of the studies, they've shown that one to be the most consistent. I mean, why is it when people use the sugar pill, you still get a segment of the population that gets results? That doesn't make any sense. And so even just your thought about the coenzyme Q10 and the potential of it, you're absorbing the frequency and entraining the frequency of the coenzyme Q10 into your system. And your innate intelligence gets the bottle and says, well, I don't want the bottle, I just want the frequency. And it says, I don't even want to take these anymore. And so as you then, disengage and don't particularly take the rest of the bottle usually, because the truth is you can get it all from the energetics of it, which you can self-create. So when you are in that process of self-creation and you get a little tap of a reminder from the subtle frequencies of biofeedback, that's when everything happens. So back to the case. So we go here and we see sodium. This is much more likely to be an excess of sodium. Sulfate, this usually means that sulfur, as in glutathione, could be used in a positive way for the case. So it tells me there probably is some need for detoxification. Vanadium is usually about blood sugar. And iron could be deficient when there is a chronic infection or a chronic microbe. When there is some type of parasitic or chronic bacterial infection, we can begin to see iron become deficient. Okay, so we also saw that there was an infectious disturbance, and we won't be surprised to see if Lyme comes up since she said Lyme was the issue. We don't see Lyme actually resonating. We see a virus resonating, so that could be like the herpetics, and we see a biofilm. Let's go ahead and check the dermatomes and see if there are any of the herpes viruses that come up in the dermatomal readings. Sorry, we already have this, right? We have the libraries right here, so we'll go to the libraries. All right, so let's see if you have any comments or anything you want to share with us. Okay, nothing yet. All right, so let's go ahead to the dermatomes. And let's go to the reason that we look for these in the nerve roots is this is where they hang out when they're not active. So let's go ahead and go to the dermatomal, the spinal nerve roots. So there it is, you guys, a latent infection in the nerve root, which is what we're looking for. And this is where herpes and these herpetics that cause chronic fatigue and other chronic issues hang out. And they're more active when you're tired and you don't sleep well. So it says, let's go down to the bottom here and see what the one is in blue. So some type of a mystery virus, but Epstein-Barr looks like it's at the root cause of this, you guys. So Epstein-Barr looks like it's really one of the root causes of what's going on here. So again, the initial issue that we had here was Lyme, brain fog, fatigue, joint pain, and major pains on the left side. So pains on the left side, that sounds like a digestive issue, and that should probably be taken separately from the whole picture. But it looks like Epstein-Barr is by far, playing a role here, and we can get the dermatomes or the nerve roots where it's hanging out so we can hit it directly in the nerve root areas. And so, wow, we've got a lot of nerve roots that are affected. So let's include those. And let's get these down here. And let's find out what some solutions that would be good for her given. So the main issue, you guys, is this virus. So the viral gen from Phytogen, I don't know if you guys have checked out the Phytogens. There are over 70 remedies that I've been able to put into the system under the Phytogen, the singles and the combination. It's a new set of panels. And I've got, with these, I'm creating more extensive guides. So it's got a really extensive guide that lists all of the 3 plant buds that go into the viral gen. The phytogens are made from plant buds, and so these plants act as stem cells. They come in very, very small doses, 15 ml bottles, but they're very, very potent. They contain very little alcohol, and so people seem to respond to them very well, and they don't have a lot of glycerin in them, which is what the chemotherapies have. So I see that people react even better to the phytogens sometimes than the chemotherapies, and you only need a very, very small amount. So then we've got some cinnamon, some English marigold, some licorice, which is very, very good for viruses, OSHA, which is good for fungus. So I'm still suspecting that there may be some fungal infection. Lysine at 0. So if she's not taking lysine, this is probably something that should be given as a physical remedy. Lysine at 0, when you have something that's 0, that's sort of like the highest resonance that somebody can go to in terms of that their energy field is really attracted to it. And then we've got some other ones. Hyssop is a wonderful anti-infective. And you guys, I can't stress enough, I know I sound a bit like a broken record, but if this woman is not on a plant-based diet, she should be on a 100% plant-based diet of unprocessed whole foods. I mean, my whole life really changed when I went from more processed, even plant-based foods to more unprocessed foods. And the best way to do this is to get an Instant Pot. I'm not a seller of Instant Pots, but you can go on Amazon and get an Instant Pot for about 80 bucks. I mean, even people who eat meat, it's become a huge fad, a huge thing that people are really tuning into. It's not really a fad. It's just it's extremely practical, you guys. An Instant Pot allows you to make, say, sweet potatoes in about, fully cooked sweet potatoes that you can consume in about 15 minutes, and you just push a button, you come back, it's done. It's way safer than a microwave. It's probably another reason that people have been drawn to it. I make beets, I make broccoli, I make cauliflower, I make all types of vegetables and rice and things like that in my Instant Pot. I'm super busy, and it just allows me to make things that are whole foods. And I should not say whole foods, but unprocessed foods. So I'm going to be creating a lot more support materials for plant-based food plans, you guys, because having done this for a while, really biofeedback is going to be better with a primarily plant-based diet. How much? Plant-based as much as your body will tolerate. Hey, if you need a little bit, 2 ounces of chicken a day or something like that just to feel complete, then go ahead and have it, but make it the smallest dose, because I've seen people really get better faster from a majority of chronic illnesses, including autoimmune diseases, when they go on a primarily plant-based food plan. And it's almost like we're not even at square one if we're doing biofeedback and we're not at least trying to reduce meat, dairy, sugar, and oil from the food plan, including oil like vegetable oils, which really choke off the circulation of the person. So just looking at this, I can't remember. See, I know that she sent me a couple of cases. I don't think this was the fertility case, but we do see, so joint pain and major pains on the left side. Left side is, could be colon, diverticulitis. It could be an ovarian cyst. There's a lot of things that could be going on here. It's interesting that the PCOS comes up for her. So let's just see what's here. PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And it usually means that there's a deficiency of progesterone and an excess of estrogen. So this is actually clove, the syzygium, and it comes up when there's blood sugar issues. Ovarianum means that there's something going on with the ovary. That could be the lower left-sided issue. Indole 3-carbinol has to do with the regulation of estrogen. So we're not regulating estrogen as well as we could be. We go down here, we see sex hormone binding globulin. So that can be increased through the consumption of soy, the consumption of nettles, and the consumption of flax. So I would say ground flaxseed, a tablespoon of ground flaxseed is good for just about everyone. We see the blood sugar issue, which matches the clove up here, the syzygium. It tells us, and we saw before, the vanadium mineral is about blood sugar regulation. Progesterinum means that there's something going on with progesterone, so not enough high levels of progesterone. Chaste tree is, again, about progesterone. Nettles helps to increase the sex hormone binding globulin. So when you get good at this, you guys, you see all of the information beginning to add up together, because this really makes sense in combination. When you look at this, I mean, there's everything in here is consistent. So we're getting a couple of different pictures. We've got a picture of a chronic virus that is probably affecting the energy systems of the body. So she probably doesn't have a lot of energy. So what can we do? We can do things like lysine, or we can balance with biofeedback the nerve roots and balance out that Epstein-Barr. If she wanted to, she could do the medical medium celery juice. Some people are just absolutely over the moon about doing that. I've had good effects with lysine. You could also do licorice. That's another wonderful way to battle viruses, but it does seem like the virus is the root cause here. I don't know how the Lyme was diagnosed, but I don't see a lot of people with true Lyme. But everybody seems to has the resonance of Lyme. Okay, so so Kathy says she's trying to get pregnant. Okay, so I didn't know that this was that. Well, she should try to get healthy first, which is what she's trying to do, which is wonderful. But I do think that she may have some of the polycystic ovarian syndrome stuff going on. So I do think this would apply to her. And if she has PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, then it's going to be really hard to get pregnant. And a lot of it is for the reasons that we see here. Okay, so she says Corey is vegan and very careful on her diet, so that's not the issue. So that's really good. So does she avoid oil? That would be the next thing to make sure she's avoiding vegetable oils. Okay. And all right, so let's see. Sorry, just getting some of the. All right, so she says, what can biofeedback help ovarian? Biofeedback can help with anything, and you can see the overinum here. This is a homeopathic remedy that's used for the ovaries, but it tells us the ovaries are not as really doing what they could. There's a misfire in the cycle here. We could also look at it with fertility, right? There's a fertility assessment. If you get those 200 panels with your Genius, this is in there. So stress level excessive at 777. So I think, we went through some things. We said, is the diet plant-based? Yes, the diet is plant-based. So it's not maybe a dietary thing, although I still would want to see a diet diary, because it's been my experience that what people say, even subconsciously, versus what they actually do, there is a difference. So there probably is something in there that maybe could be improved, even though that's awesome and really exciting that she's doing so well with a plant-based diet. It also says that for some reason there are high androgens, and this could be from the stress. So I think the stress is probably the root cause of whatever it is. Now, we don't know why the stress could be from being sick. The stress could be not being able to conceive at this point. There could be lots of reasons, but it gives us more of a working idea of maybe what the root cause of all of this is. High androgen, so that's sex hormone binding globulin, the flaxseed, the nettles, because those high androgens will be reduced by sex hormone binding globulin. And what increases the sex hormone binding globulin is the soy, the nettles, things like that. Blood sugar imbalance, we see blood sugar imbalance over and over again. So that's why I probably would want to see a diet diary. I'm guessing that there are little things that are sneaking in there. It's funny when I hear from people like, my diet is perfect, you wouldn't believe how perfect it is. And then I look at it and there's just something that needs to be tweaked. Or when I have people do their own diet journal, you wouldn't believe the things that are just sort of sneaking in there. And it's really unconscious. People really legitimately don't realize it. So there's definitely something going on there. It could be a processed food. Processed foods are things like bread is actually processed, unless you make it yourself. Anything that reduces the hydration in the food. So unprocessed foods. A sweet potato is unprocessed. Pasta is processed. Now, if you have no health problems and you have no weight problems, then pasta isn't necessarily a bad food. It's not a judgment on food itself. We're really just asking, what is the impediment to healing here? What is the blockage to healing? So an omega-3 deficiency, the ground flax would help with that tremendously. And you don't really need more than just the ground flax, or a couple of walnuts a day. when we're trying to battle an omega deficiency, it isn't like we need like a gallon of oil to overcome the omega deficiency. We need a small amount of omegas. So we could work on that. And also, this could also be omega-6 excess. So if there are lots of almonds or almond butter or peanut butter, there could be an excess of omega-3s. Food intolerance. So there's something that she may be eating every day that she's not tolerating well. Progesterone deficiency. So this, I think, is going to be the main piece that really is the issue around the fertility. So whatever it is that's blocking the ability of progesterone to be higher, and I think this may be the key. When your stress level is excessive, it really pulls on the raw materials that make those reproductive hormones. Plastics exposure. So it's really surprising, but both for men and for women, it's really interesting that the plastics issue for men's ability to conceive and even for women's ability to conceive, that the plastics is a huge issue. So I half expect to hear from Kathy. She doesn't use an ounce of plastic, I swear. But it's so funny that plastic can kind of just trickle into our lives without our realizing it. So go back and just review and make sure that there are no plastic bottles at all, or become really strict with this. Make sure that everything is consumed out of glass. Make sure nothing is consumed in the microwave, etc. Relationship conflict, so that could be in the soup somewhere in there. Heavy metal toxicity, so there may be something. These are more mild, okay? When you get to 644 and 631, I find that these are more mild influencers, but I would definitely look at the plastics. So easy just to grab a plastic bottle. So make sure that for now, for the next 3 months, or for the time that you want to do the conception, that everything is going to be in glass without exception. Go down to the bottom here, and there's something causing inflammation. Causes of inflammation could be the food intolerance. It could be too much omega-6. It could be the stress itself is inflammatory. This is rather young to have a yin deficiency, but it means that all the adaptogenic pieces are not in place right now. We can see some of the hints of that here with the adrenal imbalance. So we have to sort of build up some of that adrenal support. I don't know exactly why the Anthony Williams stuff isn't working, but we just have to accept and say, if something isn't working, we have to reevaluate it and just be really objective about it. Okay, the celery juice isn't working. Maybe lysine will work. Maybe licorice will work. So we want to do something to deal with the virus, something to deal with the stress management and helping to be able to either reduce or, like, if something is like you really can't tolerate the stress, for example, abuse, right? If you're in an abusive relationship, you don't say, well, I'll just meditate more. So there are certain stressors that need to be eliminated. But then just the stress of life, like if just going to the job that you love causes you so much stress, then you need to learn to manage stress better. So meditation would definitely help with that. So there are different levels about this. What is really the cause of the stress, and what needs to be either eliminated, or how can we introduce meditation or something that will help with that. There may be an underlying STI, there may be some chlamydia here. We don't know. This could just be some other type of infection. An ovulatory cycle kind of goes hand in hand with everything that we've been talking about, because if there's a slight excess of estrogen and there's a deficiency in progesterone, it'll cause a misfire in the feedback loops, and therefore the woman will not cycle, she'll not ovulate at mid-cycle. So we're not getting that correct ovulation, which of course we're not going to be able to have conception. But once these things are cleared up, conception can happen very, very easily. So it can happen. And adrenal imbalance is something we talked about. So let's go to fertility solutions. And so this is something, what are the solutions that will help her to get into fertility? And often they match what the issue was in the assessment. So let's take a quick look at that. Then we'll incorporate the flower essences as well. So green juices would be helpful. That will help the liver and help the immune system. This should say progesteronum. So again, that progesterone support. Ashwagandha is for immune and adaptogenic support. Let's go down here. Evening primrose oil is for progesterone support. And I said no oils, but a little few capsules of evening primrose oil are perfectly acceptable. Folliculinum, which is what that helps the follicle to completely mature so the egg can be released at the right time. Melatonin is to help the sleep cycle. That will definitely help fertility. And this is sort of borderline, but this is chaste tree berry is for fertility. So you get sort of a really quick, sort of a detailed look at everything going on with her just in a few seconds. So again, it's a viral issue, a stress issue, and a hormone issue, all of which can be rectified and can be rectified quite quickly through a combination of some more subtle dietary shifts and running the biofeedback every day, say for about 14 days, and you'll start to really see a shift start to take place. Okay, let's get some of these into our mix here and see which one comes up as the priority. So all of these have a probability of being significant flower essences, and we could explore all of them, and they would all have some type of a connection to what's going on for her. But let's take the top and the bottom ones, and let's go ahead and add them into the mix here. And let's see which are the very, very highest flower essences. Now, the highest remedy for her today is what I talked about with the lysine. So you want to look into lysine. It might be 500 or 1,000 milligrams, or have a consultation with me if you're not sure how to proceed. But it looks like lysine for the virus is one of the most important ones. Everybody on here might need lysine in the wintertime when your immune system goes a little bit low, and so many people seem to have the herpetics. I think that's why the Anthony Williams book resonated so strongly. There's still so many people who seem to have the Epstein-Barr virus. And we always thought about something in the late 80s and early 90s that people talked a lot more about Epstein-Barr, and then it sort of went out of style to talk about it. And Anthony Williams kind of brought it back into style, and people are finding even on biofeedback that it resonates. So rock water is, those are very strict in their way of living. So she probably is very disciplined with the plant-based, which I do tip my hat to her, and many, many kudos for doing so well and being so disciplined. But this is where we want to allow some fun into one's life. So those are very strict in their way of living. They deny themselves the many joys and pleasures of life because they consider it might interfere with their work. They're very hard masters to themselves. They wish to be well and strong and active and will do anything which they believe will keep them so. They hope to be examples which will appeal to others who may then follow their ideas and be better as a result. So she has an incredibly strong desire to be well and has been really, really working on it. So this, I think biofeedback will definitely help her tremendously, because she just needs some subtle shifts to get the ball rolling. That viral gen comes up really strong. That viral gen is very, very powerful. At least run the frequency of the viral gen. Some biofilms on some type of a chronic illness going on here. There's the herpes simplex virus. So there's one of the herpetics are in there kind of creeping around. There's the progesterone, the green juices. Again, the progesterone is a huge, huge thing. So evening primrose oil, chaste tree berry, and lots of biofeedback. And then something about the blood sugar. So we may have to sort of fine tune what's going on. And your blood sugar can get out of balance even if you're using those processed foods. So it may have to be the unprocessed foods that we talked about. That would be potatoes, sweet potatoes, butternut squash, any type of regular squash, any of the parsnips, things like that would all be, carrots, beets would all be perfectly acceptable. And the grains, you know, quinoa, millet, those are all unprocessed. It's only when you turn them into flour and then create things with the flour that they're processed. And again, if you're 100% plant-based and you don't have any health issues and you don't have any weight issues, then anything made from the processed flour is okay. Or it's okay to partake of it, like for holidays or occasions, but don't make it part of your regular, don't make bread and pasta part of your regular plan if you're trying to overcome an illness or do it every day, or try to maintain your weight. Drinks lots of coffee with almond or soy milk. Oh, it may be, yeah, you know, the funny thing is that there are oils in the soy milk and in the almond milk. So that's a place where oils sneak into the diet. So it's something to consider. And the coffee, you know, you'd have to be thinking about if it's harming or helping, but not everybody can give up coffee. It's probably not the worst thing of everything. All right, so she works in a very toxic environment as a project manager, takes old buildings and makes them functional living space. Heavy metal toxicity. Okay, I think again, that's part of the issue. So it sounds like it is emotional stress and it's toxicity. Toxicity will definitely put the damper on fertility. Let's go ahead and just run this for another minute, and then let's look at toxic exposures and heavy metals. Now we're getting more in the juiciness of the whole thing. Okay, with the Carolyn Mine information, what showed on your screen was all in lowercase. Is that important? In her book, they're not lowercase. Okay, Susan. No, it doesn't matter that they're lowercase versus uppercase, but I can understand why you might think that. Toothpaste, too, contains plastic microparticles as some luxury body creams. My main issue with toothpaste is, of course, I assume everybody on here doesn't use a fluoridated toothpaste. So the first thing you want to do is make sure it contains no fluoride, or you don't buy any of the major brands of toothpaste. That's a really good idea. But my really more subtle problem with toothpaste, you guys, that I want you to be really aware of, and in 2019 we'll do more biological dentistry training, is the number one issue I have with toothpaste is glycerin. So if you have glycerin in your toothpaste, you should check it today. Most of the health toothpaste have glycerin in it. So I have a couple of brands. Earth Paste is one of them. I'm trying to, in my mind, I found an amazing toothpaste. I'll have to get it out in the newsletter that does not have any type of glycerin in it. So it would be one that has maybe some type of charcoal. You can even make your own paste with charcoal and chlorophyll, and some type of zeolite or bentonite. All of those clays are really, really good for toothpaste. But you don't want any type of glycerin, because that will tend to make you form more biofilms on the teeth and make it hard to really get the teeth clean. I've never had such a great dental cleaning and report as when I stopped using glycerin in my toothpaste, even the healthy toothpaste. Unfortunately, it's a common mistake. I don't know, it must make it easier to make and produce the toothpaste as a result. So we'll look for the toxic exposures in just a moment. Inflammation in the jaw, says Kathy. She'll be way more aware of plastics now. Cheryl says water contains the plastic microparticles. Cheryl, you're really into the plastic microparticles. Good for calling that to our attention. Thank you. So let's go ahead and look at the aura, and then we'll look at the toxic exposures. Kathy says no bread, but nuts might be an issue. Nuts, I think in moderation, and seeds, use the majority seeds. And Kathy confirms that the stress is actually very, very high You guys, don't you often see this with your readings, how spot on they are, how much they make sense? But it's really your processing the information and putting it in perspective for people that really, really can help them. Okay, we've done a wonderful clearing here, you guys. So we're only about halfway there, but look where we've come. And this was just in a few minutes. So let's pop out and look at the pictures here. And we'll go ahead and take a look up here. And we see before and after. Before, and a lot of that cloudiness and density has sort of moved. So dense, cloudy, density, this is probably digestive stuff below. And then here's after about 4 minutes of harmonizing. So clearing a lot up here. There's still density in here, density here. We'd want to see that clear. And this is all liver and digestive stuff here. Okay, so yeah, detoxification is going to be really important in sort of fine-tuning that food plan, fine-tuning the food plan and the plastics. Boy, they can make a lot more of an impact than we realize, especially when we're really working on something. When we say something is toxic, it's really the situation. It's really, is it toxic to that person? Is it toxic in a particular dose? Like, what's the dosage that's toxic for that particular person? So let's look at toxic exposures, gets a 760. So let's see what kind of toxic exposures come up. All right, so let's look down at the bottom here. Oh, bisphenol A. So this is from plastic. So we don't see it as much. BPA, does she have any canned foods? So this can be in the lining of cans, if she has any type of canned foods, maybe soups. I would look into that. Any type of Nalgene or a hard plastic water bottle, be careful of that. I'm surprised to see BPA here. DDE is the metabolite of DDT. Again, I'm surprised to see it in such a young person, but who knows? Toluene is kind of borderline, that's from solvents. And then we don't see as many toxic exposures as I expected to see, but it may because the toxins that she was exposed to are not in this particular panel. So chlorpyrifos is, I think, some type of pesticide. Phthalates are also the plastics. Now, these are in the softer plastics. So the things like the softer bottles that you drink out of, the little, smaller bottles that you carry with you, those softer plastics have phthalates in them. And a big place where you have a lot of industry, if you guys have ever been to Puerto Rico, they have a lot of actually industry and a lot of plastic manufacturing on the island. And it has one of the youngest ages of early hormonal development. So you have 3-year-olds with, they call them breast buds, this really young maturation in 3-year-olds. It's because of the exogenous estrogens that they're exposed to on the island. So if people are exposed to these estrogens at a young age, I mean, maybe where she got it was from being a younger person and getting exposed to the sippy cups and baby bottles. It could have even been because the younger you're exposed to it, the more of an impact it has. It's hard to know. So the other thing I just wanted to look at was heavy metals. So if we go to heavy metals and look at the heavy metal assessment. You guys, here we're just trying, we could probably get everything done with the information that we had. Tungsten, wow, that's really interesting. I don't know what the source would be. Palladium, tellurium, I'm just not sure what these sources would be. Antimony, mercury, tin. It does look like there's quite a bit of exposure. I don't know if there's any, I assume there's probably no silver fillings being an exposure here, which is good. So yeah, I'm not really sure what all of that is. Let's see if any of it comes up as a priority. And then we'll see if there's any other. So the yin deficiency has to do with the adrenals. Maybe some acupuncture would be really good. All the licorice could help with that. Any of the adaptogens, ashwagandha. Indole 3-carbinol tells us that she's not metabolizing the estrogens as well as she could be. And then clove is, again, for that blood sugar probably, as well as for the underlying infections. Century is when we want to step into the heart based aspects of our lives. So Century has a lot to do with connecting to the heart. And that could be a way out. You know, you're always looking like, what's the way out for people? What is the piece that they're really looking for? Because all illness is ultimately a lesson. You know, we're trying to think things out and figure things out. So Century is also described as the putting down your foot essence, but when we're connecting it to the meridians, the doorway out is through a lot of the heart meridian stuff. So it's about connecting to the heart. Century is described as kind, gentle people who are over anxious to serve others. They overtax their strength and endeavors. Their wish so grows upon them that they become more servants than willing helpers. Maybe some of this is the conflict in her work. Their good nature leads them to do more than their share of the work, and in so doing, they may neglect their own particular mission in life. And so the relation to the meridian and sort of the gateway out, this essence is needed when the person gives so much but forgets and forgoes the act of self-nourishing. The discovery and in training the energy of this essence is taking the time to nourish yourself, and it allows you to serve others from a place of having something nourishing to ultimately authentically share with others. Century is a plant comprised of bitters known to be good for digestion. So again, harmonizing the digestion, we saw some of that in the aura, would be very good. And the green juices may be very helpful for that, to give the liver support, to give the digestion support. So the left-sided stuff could be colonic, colon stuff, or it could be ovarian stuff. It's just really hard to say. Okay, there's the anovulatory cycle. The progesterone is sort of the same things that we saw again. That V3 is about the nerve root, that virus in that nerve root. So let's do another minute here, and then we'll do a final look at the aura. You guys remember that the Energy Medicine Summit is this week. And in the summit, if you look at the summit schedule, we will be doing more about the oils on point in the summit, and we'll be taking live cases. If you have a case that you would like us to work on at any point in the summit, please, I do actually have a request, and send me your cases. Send me your toughest cases this week, you guys. Send me their picture and date of birth, and during each part of the summit, we'll probably have time to do live cases. So our Energy Medicine Summit is really talking to people who are using the Genius and asking their particular take on using the Genius, what types of triumphs they've had. And if you send me your tough cases or any cases, we will work on them during the summit. And on Thursday, we will work on live cases with Kelly. Kelly will be sharing her information about the oil on point, and so we'll be doing 2 hours of talking with Kelly and talking about the oil on point. So look at that in the link under the Energy Medicine Summit. The schedule is there, and we'll probably take a look at that together in a moment. Okay, so no, we don't have any more comments there. Let's go back and look at the aura again. So let's go back here. Oh, I know where it is. It's right here. Okay, there we go. And let's take another peek and see what's going on here. Then we'll just go to the website and talk about the Energy Medicine Summit. All right. So there was another update today. Make sure you update your Genius today, and make sure that you do a sync. Wow, we're ending on such a good note. So what I would say is that Corey is incredibly receptive to the frequencies, and here we just really, maybe it was the Century, something there really hit the high note. In 1 minute of harmonizing, we had an incredible shift. Let's look at the entire shift. It was really just a 6-minute harmonizing, which again, you guys, going back to what I was talking about today, is really that the body is looking for subtle shifts to open up the body's own sort of rush of energy, which is the natural healing systems of the body. Remember, the forest doesn't need chemotherapy or radiation. You are that same natural system. You're looking for subtle shifts that will help you, that will remove the blockages that just allow this incredible natural innate intelligence of healing to rush forward, to come back in and really take effect. So this is where we started. After about 4 minutes of harmonizing, we came to here. And then after 1 additional minute of harmonizing, we came to here. And there may be something probably right here that we could work on a little bit more, and probably down here. But overall, this looks really, really good. Just turn that picture off for just 1 second, go back to the Genius here, and there we go. So other final comments. Phthalate is a makeup big time toxin. That's a good reminder, Diana. Thank you. And Diana's saying that yes, be careful because there are phthalates that are in makeup. So CoverGirl and all of these makeups that sometimes people think, oh, it's clean makeup and so forth. Well, that's really good advertising. If you read the back of the bottle, you will faint. Remember, a really good resource, you guys, for understanding more about cosmetics is the Environmental Working Group. So let's just take a moment. They do have a lot of autoresponders now. So, but go to ewg.org. See, that's what I wanted to just avoid that. Let's see if we can just continue. Okay, great. Yeah, they really have come a long way. But this is a great site. It's a great, if you want to give a donation to a worthy cause. This is a really worthy cause, is the Environmental Working Group. And what you can do is you can go on here and you can find all types of guides. There's an analyzer, so you can just pop in the cosmetics that you use, and boom, it'll basically tell you whether it is a good cosmetic or whether it has a lot of toxins in it. So this is great, really great resource. And let's see if they have this in here. Okay, so they just have this guide here, but I know that they also have a database where you can put in what you use. Anyway, you guys can explore that and find out more about that. But yes, you're right, phthalates are big time in cosmetics, so be careful about that. And Kathy says, thank you, tears of gratitude. I will become a practitioner. This is amazing. I'm amazed at you, Kathy. Thank you for being part of this, and you know, definitely let's follow up with your daughter. It sounds like she's very, very motivated. Okay, I just want to talk about the summit a little bit, and please give that information again for the site, again on the makeup. Go to ewg.org, ewg.org, and if you look around the site, you can find they have a place where you can type in the cosmetic that you use, and it'll give you the toxins that are in there. So yeah, just to talk about the summit starts on Wednesday. Make sure that you're signed up. You can sign up by hitting the register now button here. And then we're going to be talking all about biofeedback and hearing from actual biofeedback practitioners on their perspective about the Genius, about what works for them. And then on Thursday, we'll be doing 2 hours of doing that oil on point stuff. We'll be hearing from the developer in the morning, Ryan, and we'll be talking to all of our lovely practitioners, some of which are here with us now. And thank you all for agreeing to be part of this, and thank you for participating. If you can't join us for the live sessions, make sure you just signed up, and of course we're going to send everyone the replay. All right, thank you everyone for being a part of the class today. Have a wonderful week, and hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday. Take care and be well. Bye-bye for now. Thanks again.